3, 4, 5. Hockey Lab.
Hello and welcome to the Mile High Hockey Lab. My name is Adrian Hernandez. I am your host. I am here today with Evan, Ezra, Jacob, and Jackie of MileHighHockey.com. Thank you so much for tuning in to the broadcast tonight. It's a little bit different than our typical Friday weekly broadcast, so thanks for tuning in the evening. We figured we might as well get one out of the way since there has been some pertinent Avalanche-related news kind of over the last few days. So while we have you here, please subscribe and like if you are watching on YouTube, and subscribe to your preferred listening platform. As you can see, I've got a few different selections on the screen here, if depending on what you prefer. So head on over there and subscribe. So first things first, I just want to get into it and talk a little bit about a person who will long be revered as an Avalanche legend, someone who will be synonymous with the Colorado Avalanche name long into the history books, the passing of Peter McNabb. And I'll start with you, Evan. Maybe you can just talk a little bit about what Peter meant to you and just kind of give your thoughts.
Yeah, obviously super heartbreaking, super unfortunate. I think it's appropriate to say F cancer at this point.
For sure.
I'm only 21 years old. I haven't been around the entire Avalanche existence like he has been. And there is no Colorado Avalanche without Peter McNabb. And it's going to be hard for everybody. And, he made us all feel like a friend. Through our TV screens. So he'll be dearly missed, and we all pay our respects. Hope Mark Mosier, Kyle Keefe, everybody in the KSC Altitude family, is doing well and is able to support one another through these hard times.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Evan. And I think you did a really good job of kind of summing up kind of the fan perspective of the situation in your recent article titled Celebrating the Life of Peter McNabb. So thank you for your work on that and for putting kind of some of the feelings into words. I think, the way I'd put it is the guy kind of taught at least my generation the sport of hockey, because I wasn't exposed to it until the Avalanche, until his broadcast came along. So in a lot of ways, he taught me the game. So, he will be dearly missed. And I think Mosier said it really well on the morning show on Monday. And not to be too graphic, but these are Mosier's words, not mine. He said, "I think my friend would punch me in the nuts repeatedly if I spent the next few days just talking about him and not the Colorado Avalanche." So I thought that was pretty funny. So with that said, I think we'll move on to the other news, which is the injury-related news with the Colorado Avalanche. We've gotten word that Nichushkin's out for an extended period of time, likely or is going to need surgery. Byram is out with a lower body injury, and Sam Girard is as well. Both day-to-day, I believe, is the listing they were given. And Ezra, we'll start with you. Tell me kind of what's your initial reaction to that, and how do you think the lineup will alter as a result?
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame to see that Val's going to need surgery because, he was off to such a great start. He this season seemed to be one of those, seemed to be a season where he was proving his contract right away, which is fantastic. And now he's got a little setback, but he'll be back. And the forward group, as much as we've complained about depth, I mean, in Columbus, we saw Kaut step up, and the fourth line guys were getting enough done that it could be okay on the forward side. Defensively, I don't know what they do without both Byram and Girard. I mean, are we going to see McDonald and McDermott play 15 minutes a night? It's dicey, and there's nobody to call up either. So I don't really know. That's scary. And they left themselves thin on defense going into the season, knowing something like this could happen. But so hopefully McFarland and Sakic have something in mind for what to do in this situation, since they probably should have predicted something happening like this. But man, I'm not excited to see a lineup with both those guys getting 15 minutes a night.
Yeah, and Jacob, can you expand on that maybe a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, not to toot my horn a little bit, but in the season preview, the roundtable that we had, I said my chief concern was what happens if there's multiple injuries to the defensive core. That they had depth where they could sustain one, but as soon as say Bo Byron and Sam Girard are out, like what happens? Yeah, Curtis McDermott plays 15 minutes a night, and so
not ideal.
The thing, Yes. I mean, the thing that I've always kind of suspected is that that extra bit of cap space they've been holding back for, kind of insurance purposes if something like this were to happen. And so, it's hard to look anywhere on the Avalanche roster and see like a real answer to this, this problem right now. And so I think the question is what even is available on the trade market this early in the season? Because there's so many teams that, come February, maybe they're interested in dealing, but right now, they still have hope for their season. They're not going to unload their veterans.
Right, exactly. It's way too early for any of that to kind of happen. And Ezra mentioned that we could see McDonald get a little more time. Jackie, maybe you can tell us who maybe we're not kind of expecting from the AHL who might make an appearance, and maybe what you expect from McDonald.
Oh gosh, I agree. There is a ton to call up. I guess Brad Hunt would
That's
be
what I
my
was thinking.
bet
Yeah.
if if they're going to call anybody. He's more of an offensive guy. He did spend, I believe, the whole season last year in Vancouver, so he is NHL seasoned. He could probably do okay there, but
I completely
other
forgot
than
about him.
other than that, it's Englund and Middleton who are both the big stay-at-home, slow type. I think we've seen enough of them, so I think it also depends on how long Gerard's out because they did call him day to day, and he is a fast healer. So if it is just going to be, say, a game or two, I could see them try to patch through the rest of the week, just use McDonald and McDermott and try to get through it that way. But I'm not a huge fan of that idea either. It doesn't seem very viable to play both of them at defense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a tough spot. It's tricky.
Do you think
if they do,
I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say if they do go get somebody, probably Jack Johnson. I think Chicago could let him go, but I think it's way too early for that. They're gonna try to get through this.
Yeah,
Avalanche fans rejoice. Jack Johnson's back.
maybe that's Jackie's bold prediction for the day. I don't know. Maybe you should double down on that one because you've been absolutely on fire. You had the new hook goal, and then you had the count point. So, I mean, at this rate, guys should be shooting you a message and saying, "Hey, Jackie, please pick me in the bold prediction so that I score," because you've been awesome. And while we're on the subject, do you got any more bold predictions this week for us?
Oh gosh, Gerard will be back sooner than people expect. That's my bold prediction.
I like that.
He might miss one, but I'll say he'll be back by the weekend. That's my bold prediction.
Yeah,
we'll try to get through that injury at least.
I hope so because I think, like Jacob said, I don't know that they can afford to lose another piece on that back end. And Evan, I think maybe you can talk a little bit about this, but Bowen Byram is also on this list of players. It's fortunate that it's not an upper body injury. I think everybody was excited and pleased, as weird as that sounds, to see that it was an LBI. But it's also a lower body and has been a day-to-day lower body injury for Nichushkin, and that seems to have progressed backwards. What do you think, and from your point of view, what happened there? How come it kind of seemed like he was going to come back? He made the trip, and then now this.
I think traveling overseas maybe played a part in it. Like, you're sitting in a plane for an 8-hour flight, both ways to and from Finland. Maybe there was something that aggravated him there. And, maybe that could be the case for Byram on the flight back to Denver from Finland. But, I think it's just a lot of speculation that,
right.
We're not going to know because we don't exactly know it. So, whether or not, gosh, I mean, I can't believe this still to this day. And I tweeted it on the Mile High Hockey account that Jacob McDonald was on the second power play unit. And if you'd told someone that last year, holy cow.
Right.
So, I think to kind of go back to the talking point of, who's going to fill in. I actually have a piece about it coming out tomorrow. Hint, hint, if you guys are listening live. Where, Brad Hunt will probably come up. I also completely forgot about him, Ezra, and I was at the Eagles game on Saturday, so I feel that. And then, But I don't think that they can play both McDonald and McDermott in defense. I just don't think that would work. I would much rather see McDermott at forward than I would at defense. So I think that they would push McDermott forward onto that fourth line and then have some combination of Eric Johnson and Brad Hunt and McDonald.
Right.
It's just going to be chaos for at least the
Mhm.
next little while. So we'll see, and just hopefully, knock on wood, no more injuries happen, because this team is already razor thin. So
Yeah,
we'll
and
see.
you're on. I think you have to be on to something with the Nichushkin having a setback, because there's no way he makes the trip. And if you're gonna have surgery, there's no way he didn't have it a month ago if that was the plan. You know what I mean? Or even a week ago. So it sounds to me like something happened a little bit there, which is kind of concerning considering we just signed him to a contract. You never want to see a recent signee get hurt for an extended period of time, let alone have surgery. Ezra, how do you think his loss in particular will affect the scoring production in particular for the Avalanche?
Well, just to touch on what you were saying about the injury and the contract. I mean, we just saw this with Landeskog too. So it's two big
for
long
two,
contracts
yeah.
for big players who play a heavy game. It is scary. It's but hopefully both guys recover nicely and
Agreed.
we can move forward with the rest of their careers. But for this season, I mean, while he's out, scoring should probably take a hit. Although we also saw in Columbus, wasn't much of a
big
problem.
deal.
Nathan McKinnon set a record for most, set the record for the most points by a player outside North America, which I guess, having played enough games outside North America, he has a bit of advantage on that. But still, he put up points. So, it'll be necessary for guys like Kaut to keep scoring. Newhook too. The two of them are probably going to play together and hopefully put up some points. If they don't, then we could be in for a dry spell.
Yeah, I think at this rate, and Jackie, I think you'll be excited about this. I don't think they have a choice but to play Alex Newhook an extended amount of minutes now. So
that's true.
We're gonna get a look at him, I think, in a capacity further than we might have expected had things been different. And Jacob, you mentioned the defensive depth being an issue, and now kind of we're talking about the offensive depth. So it's clear that this injury problem is hitting both sides of the Avalanche lineup. Which one do you think is more effective? Or I should say, which one is more impacted? And I think you already led to that, which is defense, and maybe you can expand on why.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like the defense, the question is whether or not Curtis McDermott is playing defense back there. Because like if Curtis McDermott is at forward, then I think that you could say maybe they piece together a game. But like anytime McDermott plays heavy minutes, there's like at least one goal that you just kind of shake your head. You're like, there's reason.
An oh boy goal.
No matter where he is in the lineup, he's not playing defense.
I know. Right. And so like, a lot of it, I think you brought up a good point with Newhook. It's going to come down to guys like that. Can guys like Newhook step up? Or these are kind of the moments where you need superstars. These are the moments where you need Makar and McKinnon to post 4-point nights and just kind of drag the scoring up with them. And so I think that whether it's more impactful to the defense or offense is kind of going to depend on a select few guys. The superstars like McKinnon and Makar, and then those secondary types who need to step up like Newhook. And kind of where people don't step up or do step up, that's where they're going to need to look for reinforcements.
Yeah, you're right. They're going to need pretty much a grade A performance from their superstars night in and night out with this roster, and they're going to need some solid coaching and strategery, as I like to say. And Jackie, last week we talked a little bit about kind of what it felt like Bednar was experiencing in the moment with the lineup. Obviously, this situation is probably going to make that a little bit more turbulent. Do you think this is finally, Jackie, what gets him to settle into a lineup, or are we going to see even more craziness?
Well, this was my concern because I felt like before this, there really wasn't injury trouble.
Right.
I mean, of course they missed Landeskog, but this was something that started from day one. And now we're into the season providing injuries. And so that's a really good question. I think hopefully if Kaut stays with Newhook and Rodriguez and that continues to be a good line, that will go pretty far into help solidifying the lineup, but then I fear the fourth line is still just going to be a big jumble again.
Yeah.
We'll see. They might, excuse me, have to bring up even another forward if it's Anton Bleed. That's probably my guess. I don't think Benner can deal with another young player right now. So, what are they going to do with that fourth line? It's probably just going to be the same thing where they hardly see any minutes. But as long as he can stick to solidifying that second line, I'll probably take it. But I do think it's just going to get even crazier, which, like I said, this was my concern because I didn't think it should have been that dire before this, and now it's going to be even more challenging.
Yeah, now it's like there's really nothing to hold on to because no chemistry has been formulated between a lot of these guys because the lines are so fresh. Other than like the top 6, which I think is kind of getting used to each other in some form, but not anymore because Nichushkin is now gone. So, I think Jacob's going to have to leave us soon. So I'll ask you one more thing, Jacob, before you adios. Is there, you said there's a little extra cap space that you think that they might weaponize, but that it might not be the time. In the event that it is the time, other than Jack Johnson, who else do you think that the Avalanche might pick up?
I mean, it's difficult without a cap table in front of me, but somebody like guys at the deadline last year that I was thinking about, Justin Braun, obviously that's my UMass coming in there, but I think a guy like that would be a really good fit, someone who can skate a little bit. I think that would be the key of any acquisition, is that it can't be a statue. If they're a stay-at-home defenseman, that's fine, but they've got to at least be able to skate and play within this system, because as a guy like Curtis McDermott shows, that if you can't skate and play this system, like real bad things can happen.
Yep. All right, man. Well, thank you for coming on with us just for the short time you did and giving us your nugget of information. And I think Jacob's right. Like, cheers, brother. Having McDermott on there for too many minutes, pretty much the longer he's on the ice as a defender, the more likely you are to lose that game. And I think if you look at analytics, like if you went and looked at a JFresh WAR, I'm sure that would back me up. So it's definitely not the solution. And I think that although it's not late in the season, and teams aren't desperate to get rid of players that they can't really afford, I don't think that that's true for every team. I think there are teams right now that are desperate, despite how early it is, to reframe, namely like the Chicago Blackhawks, other teams who are kind of in the bottom of the barrel. Even if things get worse, the St. Louis Blues might be a team that would have some players prime for the picking. And maybe, Evan, you can expand on that. Do you think that there's some way, first of all, how entertaining is it what's happening in St. Louis? Sorry, I had to do it. And two, if in the event that they really don't have a good season and they're not competitors, I've seen people throw out the name Ryan O'Reilly like a return. I don't even understand how that would make sense cap-wise. But is there anybody on that lineup that you could see making a fit in Colorado?
Well, first off, you're right. It is very entertaining. Things that you love to see, at least from an Avalanche perspective. Right. The Ryan O'Reilly piece is interesting because the name has been floating around Twitter, within the Avs community, and
of course,
Avs community, Avs Twitter, we have a good time over there, and speculate and all that stuff. But I honestly feel like a reunion with Ryan O'Reilly could be possible. With that being said, I think it would only be a rental for like the rest of the year, because then if you try and re-sign him after that, then God knows cap hell. So, and I kind of think it could be a possibility because of Ryan O'Reilly's status. He's a UFA at the end of this year with the Blues. So I don't remember exactly what his cap hit is.
It's 7.
Yeah,
or a little bit over 7. Yeah,
which is a lot.
So too much, right? And under the presumption that Eric Johnson is going to retire at the end of this year, and his $6 million is going to go to the new Nathan McKinnon contract that's going in next year. So it would really only be for maybe like this spring,
Right.
and that would kind of be it. And of course, some salary would have to be retained as well. So,
And they would have to keep
it's
nuking.
a long shot.
They would have to keep nuking,
and
too,
that too. Yeah.
Which, if people remember, when they won the cup, I think like 20 games in, they were in dead last in the NHL, and then Bennington, back when he didn't used to poop his pants every night.
I was gonna say just play Bennington now. Just
Yeah.
play him now every single game, and that will do the trick.
The Avs play the Blues on Monday, right?
Correct.
That should be pretty interesting. Maybe we should talk a little bit about that, Ezra. What do you think? I know we got Nashville on Thursday. Nashville on Thursday and the Blues on Monday. Two, to me, pretty big matchups. Of the two, which one are you more excited for? Probably Blues, Ezra?
I mean, the Blues are the better rivalry, but I just think Nashville's the better team.
Okay.
I think that's going to be a more fun game. I
Same.
think like the Blues, if Bennington keeps playing like this, we're going to stomp them.
Yeah.
Nichushkin, Byron, Gerard, doesn't matter. I'm not worried about this version of the Blues right now. That defense is porous, and the goaltender's even worse. So, but I'm surprised to see Nashville getting off to such a poor start. I really liked bringing in McDonough. I thought they were going to strengthen that defense, and with Saros back there, it seemed like a team that was poised to not give up a lot of goals, maybe not score that many, but not give up a lot of goals either. And it has not been the case. I'm expecting them to turn it around. I hope it's not against us.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I thought, like, building off of what they had last year and the additions they made in the offseason, that they should probably get a little bit better from already being pretty decent. I think they surprised a lot of the league last year and just how good they were, and then obviously ran into the champs. So there's nothing you can do about running into the champs. It's gonna happen. Jackie, I wonder if this Blues rivalry has lost a little bit of pizzazz with both Perron and Kadri playing for different teams. Do you think that's the case?
Not so much. I think the teams don't like each other. So, it doesn't really matter on the personnel.
That's good
and
news.
If I was going to get anybody from the Blues to as a rental, I would pick Tarasenko. I don't think O'Reilly's coming back. The Avs hold grudges. It's not happening.
I agree.
Yeah, that's
But as far as the matchup, I actually don't like Nashville that much. I've seen them like 4 times this year. They're just not that good. I don't think they're that well coached. And then once the shooting percentage has normalized for some of these guys, they're just not that threatening offensively. So I'm not going to call it an easy game because who knows what the Avs will be rolling out. But I think they're only kind of average in this division. The game I'm actually looking forward to the most is on Saturday against the Hurricanes. That's going to be, I mean, that would have been a good test if the Avs were bringing anything close to their full team to the table there. So that could be a tricky matchup. But Carolina is a good team, and they play really a different style than the Avs. So, and then we're going to play them next week too in Carolina. So it'll be a shame that we don't.
That should be the
get
last
to see
of
a real
two.
Good matchup.
That should be the last of 2, right? So they'll get him out of the way.
Yeah.
Which it'll likely be amped up as like a possible Stanley Cup final preview too.
Just don't tell them about our 5 injuries.
I know, right? Which I guarantee you the talk will just be about McKinnon and Makar anyway. So they'll probably glance over pregame like, oh, and by the way, Curtis McDermott is playing tonight, and it's gonna be like, oh shit. But yeah, I think that's a good point, Jackie. Like, that might be the best game coming up in terms of like a barometer, but it's just so soiled by the status of the Avalanche roster right now. That being said, though, if the Avalanche are able to sneak out a win, especially against 2 division rivals and then, a possible Stanley Cup contender, that should go a long way towards their confidence no matter who's in the lineup. So I think even though it's kind of a trying time for the Avalanche, it's also a huge opportunity for them to grow really confident inside their depth, so that when guys do start to come back, when guys get called upon in the event of more injuries, there will be some foundation to fall back on. Ezra, do you think that this should be viewed as an opportunity, or do you think that it's something that will kind of take a bite out of the Avalanche's regular season success?
Oh, I think you got to view it as an opportunity. This is a chance for guys who don't usually get as many minutes as they're going to get in these upcoming games to prove themselves, prove they belong, prove they fit. And if you're a professional athlete and you're not looking at that as an opportunity, something's wrong,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think as far as the team goes, not just the individuals, yeah, absolutely, it's an opportunity. Let's prove that these games in Columbus weren't a fluke, and this team is back to some extent. But real quick, I have a question I want to ask all of you.
Okay.
Because I was doing a little research while we were talking about Nashville and St. Louis. Who do you think has been Roman Yossi's defense partner? They have an Avalanche connection. That's why it's interesting. But just give me
Barbario.
Mark Barbario. Good guess.
Wow, Barbs.
No, was
Jackie?
it Jordan Gross?
It is Jordan Gross.
Oh
Jordan
my
Gross is their
gosh.
top pairing defenseman
Oh my
right now.
goodness.
Holy
That's
cow.
not ideal.
I know he was just called up. I'm not sure who it was before. Are they still scratching Fabro or?
Fabro's
To
back
me,
in the lineup.
that was strange.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure who it was before either, but that's who they've got on the list right now.
That
Is Mark
is
Barbario
hilarious.
still on the Predators? Did I get that?
No,
Oh, he's
No,
not.
I think
he's
he's
out of
playing
the
in
league.
Europe, Switzerland maybe, or
Yeah, I
something
think
like that.
he is in the Swiss leagues, because I think that's where he went. I think a couple years ago. So
Yeah.
Oh, geez, I'm way behind
was
them
that
on the
a
times.
decent guess though? It was a decent guess.
Yeah, you were in the right
yeah.
realm.
Sort of.
AHL offensive defenseman.
Yeah. That's wild though. It goes to show that kind of like the Predators, maybe that's their issue, is the back end. Because you mentioned that like their shooting percentage is bound to like even off, which I think is bound to happen with a team like there, where most of their scoring skill have like sniper type shooters like Duchesne and Forsberg love to hit the posts or score. You know what I mean? And sometimes they're scoring every single one of them, and then the other times they're posting out. We've seen that from Matt Duchesne ourselves as Avalanche fans time and time again. So I agree with that. I think that they are bound to level off, and Jackie's not impressed with them, at least as impressed as maybe she was in the playoffs, which then again, were they that impressive in the playoffs, getting swept by the Avs? So just to backtrack a little bit, though, we talked a little bit about bold predictions. Jackie, you gave kind of an impromptu one. I'll give you another crack at it so you have a little more time to think on it this time. But, Evan, we'll start with you. Let's do bold prediction. I think this is your third bold prediction of the cast.
I believe it is
number
two.
3.
Bold prediction. Call me crazy. I think Curtis McDermott scores a goal in one of these next 3 games.
Oh, I love it. That's how it works, right? Like, it's always how it works.
No,
it's the
like,
guy you don't want or you don't expect to score always.
I'll back it up a little bit, because he wasn't terrible in Finland these last 2 games. He wasn't terrible. I didn't notice him being terribly like off with the rest of the team. I think he did have a good chance too that just went missing, or was saved by Merzlikins, if I'm not mistaken.
Is his
was
birthday coming up?
Chance in the slot. It was he drove the net nice. It was
That's right. Yes. Yeah, you're on it, Ezra. So, call me crazy. That's how I'm backing it up.
All right, crazy. But if it's his birthday, you might not be crazy at all, because he likes to score birthday goals. Let's ask you now, Ezra. I think this is probably your third bold prediction as well. So, bold prediction number 3.
Well, my last one was that Martin Kaut would get more than 10 minutes in Finland. So I was right about that.
Nice.
I think I'm gonna go with Arturi Lehkonen scores points in all 3 games this week.
Nice. I like that. And that would be really big for the Avalanche. It would start to kind of like make management look really smart again.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Absolutely.
All right, Jackie, now you've had time. Let's give you another shot at it. Your bold prediction this week.
Well, I'm not even sure he's going to come back, first of all. It's Maltsev, and he hasn't scored a point for the Avs. Ever.
Yeah.
So would this be the time that he gets his first point on a Dryden Hunt goal?
Okay. So now this might be the boldest of bold predictions. And if it's true, I swear, if you didn't buy a lottery ticket, I'm going to lose my mind. That is so awesome.
You say you didn't get the Powerball ticket,
I was going to say, you guys are all here.
My husband did. Does that count?
Oh,
he
that's
gets
cool.
the Powerball. Does that count?
Heck yeah. I was going to say, I can tell none of us here won the jackpot because we all showed up today.
Unfortunately.
Yeah,
also McDermott's birthday is in March.
Oh, so dang. Is it like
Yeah.
his half birthday or anything like that? We'll have to look into it.
March 25th was his birthday.
Not quite.
Yeah, not quite.
Maybe his next goal will be for the Eagles.
There you go. That would be.
Would the Avs do it? Would they admit defeat and have to get a real defenseman if depth gets strained too much?
Yeah, what will it take, right? That's the question. Is like, what is it going to take?
Is he on a two? He's not on a two-way, right?
No, but they can reassign him. I think they
just
can
have to go on waivers.
I think the bury limit's high enough that you can bury a full $1 million now.
Gotcha.
So they can waive him and send him down. I think they might have to kind of.
Isn't it crazy that he would probably get picked up if he hit waivers?
He probably would. I could see that.
They talk so much about him as a locker room presence that unless they had too many guys who needed to be in the lineup, which is not the case right now, I don't think they have a reason to drop him.
No.
If he went on waivers, John Tortorella would be licking his lips in Philly.
Oh man, he'd be getting 20 minutes a night.
Finally, I've been waiting. Yes. Yeah. All right, guys and gal, thank you so much for coming on with me tonight. It was a pleasure talking Colorado Avalanche with you. And if you're listening on our live stream, thank you so much for listening on YouTube. Be sure to hit that like and that subscribe button. Go follow us on Twitter at Mile High Hockey and at MHH_lab. You can find us all on Twitter as well. And you can find this podcast on Megaphone, Apple, Spotify, and Audible, and many more. My name is Adrian Hernandez. I'm here with Evan, Ezra, and Jackie. We had Jacob on a little bit earlier. Good night, and we will talk again next week, and we will see about those bold predictions. Thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you.
Have a good one.